Good evening, everybody. John Henry Soto here. Welcome to the JHS show. Tonight, author, speaker, father, entrepreneur, and community leader Issa Musharbash is here today. He's got a new book out. I hope I pronounce his name right. I've been working on it all day, but he's going to let me know right now in a second. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, and I'll just say Issa. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Issa.
You got it. You got it. Not
Was
bad.
that pretty good?
Issa Musharbash.
Musharbash,
Not too bad. Not too bad. Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you for the warm introduction and all these little titles, that you got there. Father, husband.
I love it.
Run around and do, all
Yeah.
kinds of put out fires and
That's
lead
right.
and
I
so
love it.
thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to, usually when I start the show, first thing I'll ask is, with all the craziness that's going on in the world for the last 8 months, 9 months, whatever it's been, how are you and your family?
I can't complain. Cannot complain. When everything started shutting down in March, our real estate school went online thanks to the Real Estate Commission. They allowed schools to go online, and that kept us busy. And we actually have more students in our school during the pandemic than the last 2 years combined.
Oh my gosh. Isn't
So
that
it's
awesome?
been an overwhelming thing because then people find the time now
Right.
to get licensed, and they could do it from home. So that's been a blessing. And I just can't complain. I had a chance to kind of dig back into my book. My book was supposed to be released on April 25th.
Oh boy.
At NJCU, I was invited to keynote an event, and the people agreed to allow me to launch the book there and do a book signing. And of course, that all had to pause. And here we go. November's around the corner. I wanted to be just like around the election season
Right.
with a book like this one, although it's not political at all.
Right.
And it looks like we started taking pre-orders less than 30 days ago. And the book is about to be released any week now.
Wow, that's so cool. So when you're actually, a lot of people talk about writing books and they want to write books, and everybody feels like they have a story to tell. And I think everybody actually does have a story to tell. But like, what drove you to actually sit down and because I know writing is just difficult enough as it is, to sit down and to put this story that's very personal. From what I read a lot about the, on the website and stuff, and it's a very personal story. It's a story of success, the American dream. It's a wonderful story. What actually gave you the, why did you decide to do this?
Yeah, that's a good question, John. I was expecting to launch, a business book of some kind early on. And when I started writing, a friend of mine who's in the publishing industry reached out 4 or 5 years ago, actually, and started planting that seed. He said, you need to get a book out. He's a sales guy. Like, he just wants me to sign up his next customer, to self-publish my book. And I didn't even know what I wanted to write. But what helped is he gave me an outline. He said, just fill in this outline. If you could put in a title, maybe a subtitle, and then name chapter 1 through 12. That's your book. I started doing that. I remember sitting next to my wife. It was late at night, and I said, I think I got a book here, but it's not what I expected. It's a different book. It's more personal, and it's infused with a lot of stories of difficulty and all the hope that comes out of it. And I started working on it, and it was a lengthy process. I'm 35 months since I started writing the book. Some books take years to write, and it's okay. The good news is I didn't have a deadline to try to publish by any time.
Right.
I don't make a living writing books, at least not yet.
Right.
So I just wanted to do it the first time. I wanted to do it right. And I'm excited that we're at the finish line now.
Yeah, that's so cool. So how do you see yourself as, like, someone who because the book is basically about somebody beating the odds, right? I mean, that's basically what the book. So how do you see yourself as someone who beat the odds?
That's a good question. I think immigrating to the United States alone is beating the odds.
Absolutely.
Millions of people want to come to this country.
Right.
If you could make it here, if you could just land here,
Right.
that's the first odd you got to beat, right?
Right.
Getting here. And then once you get here, the process of assimilation, cultural assimilation, and in a sense connect to the culture, to the country, and develop and grow and be part of it and contribute. That defies a lot of the odds. When immigrants come to this country, it's tough. It's tough because they got to figure out the language. They got to undo a lot of things they've learned, and that's very hard to do. Unless you come really, really young, you could learn a few things in school and kind of fit right in and be part of the American culture. Some people don't have that privilege. They get here, they're set in their ways. It's hard to unlearn years and years of culture from where they came from. It's hard. You get picked on. You get told go back to your blank country, over and over. So you have to beat the odds that are stacked up against you, and those are typically rejection. Some people are afraid of you. Like, wait, you're from where? The Middle East?
Right.
I don't know if I want you next to my house. I don't know if I want you as my neighbor.
Right.
And so there's so much that you have to deal with. And the good thing is, if you love this country loves you. This country, the United States of America, was built with immigrants, and it loves immigrants. And despite the very few haters that exist everywhere, you cannot let them stop you from reaching your destination. So my life has been defying odds one after the other, one after the other. Statistics say that I should not even be alive based on my history. Statistics say that based on how I grew up, how I got here, and what I've done in my teenage life, I shouldn't even be on your show. I shouldn't even be writing a book. I shouldn't be owning a business. But you defy these odds if you just hold on long enough. If you could anchor your faith, right? Anchor to your faith long enough, it's going to be a better day. There's a better day for you. And as you know, I don't know if we realize how blessed we are by immigrants in this country. Fortune 500 companies, 40% of them, John, 40% of them are founded by immigrants or their children.
Wow.
In 2018 alone, John, they generated $6.1 trillion with a T, $1 trillion in revenue. 40% of Fortune 500 companies that are owned by immigrants. So when we take a blanket statement and tell people, go back to your country, immigrants, go back to your country, we're saying, let's take back $6.1 trillion of American money out of this country. And so it's not logical. And I'm hoping to tell the immigrant story of the 21st century through this book and give people hope. I think the book does that. We had focus groups that read it. I've had every background you could imagine, from a high school dropout to a Harvard graduate, read the book, male, female, different age groups, to make sure that the book is not only an account of my life that's good for my children, but that it could be relevant to so many other people. So and it goes back to when everybody's goal to write a book. It's so important. I also believe, John, everybody does have a story to tell. Everybody has a powerful story to tell. The art is in how these stories land, how they land. And you could tell your story in 100 different ways. You just want to pick the landings to make sure that it's relevant and it's adding value to people.
Right. That's awesome. I love that. And it's funny, we kind of have a lot of similar things. Like, I mean, my parents are from Puerto Rico, so not necessarily immigrants, but in a sense, we did have that immigrant experience because they came here. They didn't speak English, they spoke only Spanish. So they had a lot of the same difficulties, in the 50s, and we all migrated to the Bronx, and that's where we kind of like had to try to make our way out. And in where I was growing up, same kind of situation with you, where you said you were not supposed to be here. Well, we had an inside joke growing up in the Bronx that if you made it to 20, we would, we would make jokes about it. Ah, you made it, because we really just, a lot of kids did not make it past 20. It was so violent, and it was just a lot of a really. So yeah, beating the odds is a really important story to tell, and I'm really happy that you're, you're doing this. Let me ask you a question about when you were a child. Do you feel that you're kind of like living up to the dreams of that child, or have you?
In some ways, I'm living a dream. I'm living a dream that's beyond my wildest dreams. I get to live the most comfortable life. I measure that by my children. They don't have to deal with the suffering I had to deal with, or my parents had to deal with. So they get to, actually, they're in a dangerous place, John, because they could get lost in everything, being provided for them. They may lose. They may lose the whole idea of defying odds and overcoming. But I'm living today a better life than I expected as a child. But in some ways, I'm not living some parts of my dreams. There's things I want to do for my mother, John, that I haven't been able to do yet. I think I've given my mom as much as I could, but I feel like it's not enough. It's like a drop in the bucket,
Right,
compared to what she had done for us, her children.
yeah.
Like, what she has done for us is priceless, and that's what I keep struggling with. And I just want to get to a place where I could just give her a blank check and say, buy whatever you want.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet.
yeah.
But that would be the true dream I want to fulfill for
That's
my
great.
mom.
That's a wonderful dream. If you're walking down the street and you had an opportunity to speak to the younger Issa as a boy, what advice would you give young Issa?
Young Issa needs to speak up.
Okay.
Needs to speak up, and needs to be a little more courageous. Needs to give paternity a chance. Young Issa came from a divorced marriage. So that young Issa was fatherless in a sense. And although he had an amazing stepfather, he couldn't see how amazing his stepfather was. So my advice to him is like, dude, there's a guy that God has sent from heaven to marry your mother and her entire package of children, and provide them with a place to stay and love them. And you don't see it. Now, when I've never clashed with my stepdad ever, but I never truly honored him the way he should have been honored, because as a child I kept saying, no, I have a dad. No, I have a dad. No,
Right.
I have a dad. It really hit me when my children started to call him grandpa,
Ah,
that I started to say, wow,
wow.
they are honoring him
Right.
better than I did.
That's awesome. Wow.
So those are some of the things I would work on. Little Issa,
Yeah.
we're in a fatherless generation, John.
Mhm.
We have a problem
Yeah.
with men having children and disappearing from their lives for a very, very long time. And children need that. And we see that everywhere. Fatherlessness, it's a plague over our country. And,
Yeah.
and we see how it impacts youth and their behavior. So that kid, Issa, was that fatherless kid. But there's hope, because in mentorship, finding other men that truly value, that are not necessarily your biological fathers. They could be mentors and give a degree of paternity to you. I don't know, John, if you have any people that look up to you. You know,
I'm
uh,
kind of short, but some people do.
I'm
My kids
sure
look up to
there's
me.
young people that look up to you. And when they come from a place that lacks paternity, sometimes they lack paternity, although there's a father in their house,
Mm,
because the father doesn't know how to be paternal and
right.
and fill that role into the lives of their children. So they're constantly seeking that paternity, that love from an adult, that mentorship. We can do that. You and I are in a place in life where we could be mentors to young children
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
youth and even older young adults.
Yeah, and same situation. Again, another similar thing we have in common. I never met my dad at all. Like I didn't even meet him. I think he left when I was maybe like 2 or something. And
Wow.
but my grandfather stepped in, and my grandfather became my father basically. And he, because he was older, obviously there was a lot of the things that you can't really do as, he couldn't, play ball or those kind of things. But as far as being a man that was there, that I respected, that raised me right and taught me right from wrong, and loved me and all that, he definitely fit the bill. And I think that that's so important, that just men in general just stand up and really start realizing that we are, you know, it feels sometimes, and I don't know if you feel this sometimes, it feels like we just get kind of like made fun of, because men, oh, they control the world, oh, they men think they're this, and men and woman power, and men down here, and and sometimes I kind of like, with my wife and I, we have a really great marriage where she knows she's my wife and she knows that I'm her husband, and we don't have any kind of strange competitions on who has the upper hand or anything. We're in a marriage, but she knows I'm a man. You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes, I don't know where it went south, but I feel like it actually needs to come back. I think we need to, like you said, we need to be role models to these younger generation, men and women, to let them know how important that unit is, to really raise a family and to really honor the wife and the family, and to really know that that's really a huge part of the success that we're going to have on this planet. It's a major thing.
Yeah, we need men back.
we,
We need good men
I didn't want
back,
to say that, but
right?
you said
So
it. So,
when good men come back, that benefits women, that
right.
benefits children, right?
Yeah.
So good men means that they're good fathers and they're good husbands,
Hmm.
and they're responsible,
Right.
and they own up to raising a family, and they sense a joy in providing for their family rather than running away and worrying about child support and let me try to avoid
Yeah.
my child because they're going to ask me for money.
Right.
um,
Right.
I
They're
don't
never
know
happy.
where we went wrong,
Yeah.
but usually the father who is careless with his or her children, um, the father that's careless with his children is usually someone that's been neglected by his own parents.
Right. Right.
uh,
That.
maybe had maybe had daddy issues as well.
Yeah.
um, but it's time we step up and start with our own homes, right? We can't fix the whole world, but if we could start with our own households,
Mhm.
I think we'll start to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they say, think globally but act locally. If you
Yeah,
just kind of handle your situation, it will help the world as a whole. This book seemed emotional. I mean, for me, it just felt like you
yeah.
talking about it, that it felt like it's an emotional thing. How did you deal with those emotions, writing down these things that you probably never wrote down before?
Yeah, so the first half of the book, very painful,
Mm,
very painful to write, to think about. There's memories I didn't want to bring back. There's things that happened to me, to my mother, I didn't want to write about. but I had to. I had to tell the story, and in doing so, I grew from it. There's some healing that I needed that I could only deal with by talking about it, and it was like therapeutic. It was like a therapy session. I brought my own junk out,
Right.
and but through it, there's so much beauty. There's so much beauty in a Puerto Rican kid that grew up in the Bronx that was told he'll never make it past 20 to past 20
Yeah.
and be able to
Double it.
and double that,
Way
right?
more.
And keep going, right? And
Right.
hopefully triple and quadruple
Right.
and go all the way to 100,
Right.
There's beauty in those stories. So although they're painful and you don't deny the pain, you acknowledge it and you grapple with it, you deal with it, and from it you find meaning.
Mhm.
And my purpose in this book is to give people an opportunity to find meaning through their own stories. They're reading my story, but in reality, I'm hoping they would reflect on their story.
Sure.
One of the first things you responded to was your own story. You
Right.
connected somehow with
Yeah.
my story, and
Right.
that's what I'm hoping the book would do from cover to cover.
Yeah, and I think it absolutely will, because when I was listening to you talk a little bit about it, and I think everyone does that, right? When you're listening to someone speak about some, a book that they wrote or a film or whatever they actually did, there's always just a natural, innate thing for us to gravitate towards it and to kind of connect with it, right? That's the connection. So if you connect with it on an emotional level, especially something about parents and growing up and that type of thing, it's a really important thing, especially if you have the author there that you can actually ask questions to, like I'm doing. So this is cool. Do you writing a book, you have three kids, right? Like doing this show, I have two kids, is such a amazing, it's such a difficult thing to try to, we have to make sure everything has to be scheduled. Now I'm kind of like a fine oiled well machine as far as getting the show out. But in the beginning it was really hard to try to find the time, because okay, kids, you guys got to go to mommy, we're going to close the door, then the cat will come in, and I have shows where the cat is like meow, in the show, and I forgot to close the window, so we hear the cars and the buses, and all these things. It takes a lot. How did you balance that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Balance is the key to life, and I think you just shared it right there. We're all seeking balance, right? So yeah, I'm building an empire called family,
Mhm.
and I always said this from the beginning. I told my staff, I told everyone that joined me early on that we're not going to build a business at the expense of our household. I don't want to be the rich millionaire real estate mogul that lost his wife and kids.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
So if it doesn't work around my family schedule, if my family can't be part of it, I can't be part of it.
right.
And this is off topic, but sometimes I'm invited to events without my kids,
Hmm.
and when I'm invited to events without my kids, I'm like, this is the easiest no. Like, if you don't have
Right,
room for my children, you don't have room for me.
right,
And what do you want me to do with my children? Like, just leave them in the street while I go to
right,
your party? So everything has to involve your family, and there are some exceptions, right? But when your family sees that you honor them and you're with them and you don't miss appointments and you're there, then they turn around and say, Daddy, we're going to support you. You should go travel to this, take that job, go take on that engagement, go speak over there. Oh, you're traveling for a partners meeting 3 days away from us? Go. We'll miss you, but you're always there. And it's
right.
teamwork, and um, so family being first. How do I balance everything else? The magic is in really delegating um, to very trusted people. Delegate responsibility. Delegating authority and delegating responsibility doesn't mean you escape that responsibility.
Right.
All it means is that you're even more responsible, but you're able to leverage your time.
Yeah.
And when you leverage your time, you could do a few more things. You could do another 3 shows. And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
in my case, I have an amazing team that run our real estate brokerage. We have an amazing team that run our real estate school. I have a team that really work closely with me, not fully run, but make my life easier in real estate development.
Mhm.
And um, every company that I'm a part of, there's somebody running it. Otherwise, I can't.
Right,
And
right,
my
exactly.
wife won't let me. She's like, no, we didn't agree to this. We
Right.
didn't agree. If you can't find trusted and talented people to run these businesses, then
Yeah.
don't do it, because you're going to bring your junk home. Let me tell you a quick story, John.
Mhm.
I was presented with an opportunity early in my career to open up a construction company. I've never touched a hammer in my life. So it's this investor. He bought a 3-family house in the Heights, and he said, Issa, here's $100,000. I want you to manage this job. And I said, I don't know, but it's tempting. Maybe I can make 10% in profit, and I'll have 10% to cover overhead. That 20% is $20,000 if I do.
Right.
And then I took it on. I assembled the team. Before you know it, I did $6 million in in construction management, and I was bringing the problems to my bedroom.
Oh gosh, that's the
The
worst.
leak and this and this guy and that guy, and what it taught me from all the different endeavors is that not to go where the money is, per se,
Mhm.
right? Go where the team is, and the money will come. And I didn't have any trusted, reliable people that I could delegate construction to, because the ones I trust didn't have the experience.
Right.
So after $6 million, we kind of like said, all right, let's hold off on this, and we folded that construction business into our development business. So
Mhm.
now it's only for any of our own projects that we develop and
Right.
build. So it's a much better when I'm leading a company that only serves my purchases.
Right.
Then I'm the pissed off client, and I'm
Right.
also the pissed off contractor, and so I don't have to bring that to my bedroom.
Right. Right.
So that's what we did with construction. But with our school, that's where my passion is. I love education, but I have a guy named Milad, my younger brother, who I'm grooming to one day be the school director.
Hmm.
He's now the school administrator. He's on it. He talks to the students. He answers all their questions. He delivers books. He gets paid to do these things,
Hmm.
and he loves it. And he takes. So I just deal with the. So, did I just lose this
Nope. I'm
stream?
here.
Oh,
I'm here.
sorry. Someone is trying to dial
Ah,
while we're speaking here, so I apologize.
it's
Um,
okay.
but um,
Yeah. So
it's
I did want to ask you. I just want to ask you a quick question about what's your criteria to put a team together? Like, how do you, because this is a big thing for people that are putting business, teams together, and just even not just necessarily putting a team together, but just working with someone on something. You have to kind of know what you're dealing with, because this person can make your life great or make your life a living hell. And you've been fortunate, or maybe you've just gained the skill to be able to find these people. What do you look for in someone that you say, I can trust that person?
That's a good question, John. I don't know if I ever looked for them. I
Mm,
think they looked for me.
that's awesome.
And that's been my biggest blessing, because I would lose my mind trying to interview people and
I know.
and try to guess my way to like what they can do. Usually, I'll give you a story of one of my friends, Duda, who runs a film production company that focuses on documentaries.
Mhm.
Um, do you believe that I own a production company and I don't know how to operate a camera? Do you believe that? Why?
Why
Because
not?
Buddha's there,
You
right?
did
You gotta.
construction. You never held a hammer. I believe
But
it.
so I had been collecting art from Duda for a while, and I kept saying, one day we're going to do something together. I'm not sure what it is. We're going to do something. I'm not sure what it is. I like him. I like his attitude. He's a do or die type of personality, and the opportunity opened up where our own like in-house video company. We ended up saying, hey, Duda, take our in-house video company and turn it into a film company. And within 1 year, he did his first documentary, won an award, made the company an award-winning film company in year one. That's when the right partners find you.
Right.
Had I been searching, if I just started looking for directors, I would have lost so much focus on the things I have to do.
Right.
In my case, it's really working with the talent I already have. And I'm blessed. I have 50, 60 people that I could just examine first for anything. Anything we want to do, we already have 50 to 60 people that are somehow connected with one of our businesses. Let's see if we could take them to the next level. And they could take us to the next level. And then if we can't find in that pool, then we go outside. I do business with a lot of family. A lot of people say that's a no-no. You don't do business with family. And my answer to that is right. You don't do business with family if you don't know how to do business.
Right.
If you know how to do business, you set clear expectations. You communicate upfront, and family would love you, and you give opportunity to your family. You help see them grow and develop, and nothing's more beautiful than that. So many of my family members work somehow with me, somehow, some way work with me, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But that takes intention. That takes me being as clear with them as I would with anyone else, because whether they are a family member or not, if there's no communication, that's when the frustration comes in. And then if you have to split up and they're family members and you're having dinner together on Thanksgiving, it gets ugly.
Yeah. And I think what you said earlier, just the communication part, and you set the grounds early with a good communication, with family. Because I even friends, you have a close friend that you've known many years, and suddenly you're going to go into business or something. That conversation has to be business, and I think if you're a good communicator like you are, you can definitely communicate that. And I think, you're right. Family would love that. Why wouldn't they love having somebody that they care about in their family to work for them? So I think that's definitely one of those things that people say, oh, you don't want to do that. The same thing with with your spouse or your partner or something. You don't want to start a business with your partner. And I'm like, my wife and I would have done that. She's a wonderful artist, and I've helped her right now with her art business, and we've been working together on that. So I think that communication is solvent to all, and I think that's the most important thing. Let me ask you about teams, because man, that's a lot to motivate, right? Because I've heard like Gary V talks a lot about having, like, when you have an employee and you're thinking, and you want the employee to work as hard as you, and he's like, they're not going to work as hard as you. They're going to work for you, but they're not going to work as hard as you, because it's your thing. It's not their thing. They have their own thing. And he says he invests time into them, and he invests his attention into what they want to do, help them try to achieve that, and that turns around wanting them then they suddenly really want to work hard for Gary or for anyone that does that. Is that sort of a little bit of the philosophy, or do you have another philosophy?
Yeah, I'm going to steal this from John Maxwell, who's a leadership
I know John.
authority in this country. He describes partner, the word partner, really with each letter representing a critical aspect of that relationship. Whether you're building the team, you got to treat your team members, your associates, as partners. Mm-hmm. And a partner, the P stands for putting your agenda, John, ahead of mine. If I'm your partner, I'm going to put your agenda ahead of mind. That's the P. The A is adding value to you every day. I got to do that. I got to add value to you every day. I have to resource you. That's the R. Resource you with ideas, influence, tools. The T is to tailor my service to your needs, right? And then if you do that with your team, the N, never violate the trust that you have in me, right? The N, I'm sorry, that's the N. Never violate, right? The E, exceed your expectation, and the R is to reward the relationship. If we operate like that with everyone that really God entrusts us to care for, whether they work for us, work with us, work around us, they're partners. They've partnered with us. If we treat them like a partner, I think they will do certain things that you will not imagine. You just got to put them first. You really got to care for them. You really got to see where they want to get to in life. If you could be an agent of transformation for them, if you could be the person that helps them get from point A to point B, wherever they want to go in life, they will help set you up for your destination.
That is really, really important. Do you, when you're, because I mean, there's always randomity, a little craziness going on in business, because, sometimes you have 10 things you got to get done. You have 20 minutes to do them. Are you always level-headed?
I want to believe so.
Like, because I know I'll get a little bit like, okay, everyone stop talking for a second. Hold on. Let's hold on. Let me get a pad. All right, number one, what do you need? And I used to manage health clubs in New York City for almost 18 years, big giant with a lot of staff. And it would get that way. And that's what I would do. I would just like, okay, hold on, grab it. And I didn't want to do that, but I found it that at that time, I'm much better now, but at that time I just didn't have the tools that I needed to really be like, okay, I got you. Let's do that. Okay, I got it. Now I'm actually good. I can direct films and all that stuff and not really get stressed out by stuff. But what was your challenge, or did you have to overcome certain things, or have you always been pretty cool?
Yeah, so believe it or not, and I feel like when I opened up a business back in my first business, 2012, I was already prepared for it, really not realizing I was being prepared. I was being prepared for it when I was volunteering, and I still do, at my church. So at my church, I was leading people in ministry that weren't getting paid, asking them to show up on time to, usher, or in this case, it was really video and sound and film and youth groups. And really the pastor, who was brilliant, really set me up to learn leadership skills.
Wow. Yeah.
It was practice. I wasn't getting paid. They weren't getting paid. This is volunteer. We're going to do this. And it's amazing what you could learn when you're dealing with volunteers, because they don't owe you anything. They're doing this from the goodness of their heart. And if you're a man of excellence and you want to get things done to the highest level, and you're asking people that really don't get paid to do it, there's a certain way you got to bring them in. They have to buy into the vision. They have to believe it. They have to get excited just like you do. And these things just prepared me when I opened up a business. I was just doing ministry again. Like, hey guys, I'm doing this thing. You want to join me? You want to get a license? You want to do this? You want to help people rent apartments? And they bought into it. And I think I didn't have all the answers year one and year two. There was a time where I didn't know what to do with an agent that would get really good at rentals. I didn't know how to transition them over to start doing the same volume in sales. It was, it was my first 2 years. I'm like, okay, I know how to do sales, and I know how to do heavy volume rentals. I taught the heavy volume stuff. I need to get these agents to the next level. Otherwise, I'm going to lose them because they can't just be rental agents forever.
Right.
But as I go to the next level, I could take people to the next level. So part of it is constantly looking for ways to learn and grow. And nobody wants to follow someone who's stagnant.
Right.
I'm in school right now. I have the coolest life on planet Earth as far as what I thought I would have when I was a kid. Like, I never imagined I would be living the way I'm living now, with this much joy, right? But I'm still learning. I'm in school. Right before this interview, I was taking an exam.
Oh my gosh.
And I just want to learn. I want to learn for the rest of my life. And I think if I continue positioning myself as a learner, then I could be a giver.
Right.
And people want to be around those that are constantly growing, so they feel they could grow too.
Yeah. And learning is such an important part of just life in general. People who say, oh, I already know that. I guess one of the things that I hate the most when somebody says to me, I already know that, but we've done that already. I already know how to do that. And it's always like, shut up. But isn't business such an art? People think about business and they don't realize what an art it actually is. It is really, it can be a really beautiful thing, even like with show business, right? Show business. They didn't call it show something. They call it show business because there is a beauty to it. And there is an art form to managing people and communicating properly and getting people to want to help because they see that you're helping them. That is an art form, and the learning is such a huge element of that. So it makes sense that you would not only be taking classes still, because I'm taking class. I do webinars. I mean, how many webinars can a human being do in one lifetime? I've done so many of them, and I'm constantly trying to figure out where am I going to learn next. Even with this show, like I started then researching. Well, how do I do this? What am I supposed to do? So how much of that propels you, and motivates you, the learning element of it, that whole, the not knowing, but knowing that there's something there that you can know, that you can impart with someone else when you know it. How much of that? Because I know I get excited about stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, it gives you peace that no matter what challenge comes your way, there's a solution out there.
That's right.
You just got to go find it, right? So if you just position yourself that you just have to be a learner, and you could position and condition yourself to be one.
Right.
And if you just, forget about the destination and just sign up for the ride, forget the destination, sign up to get in the car and drive this thing called life, you'll enjoy the ride. People mix it up. They want to get to the destination, so their ride is miserable. They don't want to enjoy the view. They don't want to participate. They just want to get to the destination, and they think at the destination they're going to be happy. But when they get there, they haven't gotten all the things they needed to get in the journey, in the ride. In the ride, there's lessons you learn, right? So I think it's learning is foundational, and it's exciting to know that if there's any issue that could come up in your business, there's someone that knows the answer. Someone went through it that you could find and ask questions and even pay to get answers, because some answers will save you your entire business, and you can't put a price on that. So I think conditioning yourself to be a learner is wonderful for business, to begin with. And when you said art and business, you're so right about that. John, when you run a business, there is a mechanical, non-artsy section to it. You need order. You need filing systems, and all the boring things that most entrepreneurs are not wired to really think about. But you also need this entrepreneurial, visionary person who could excite people and drive them to a destination. Really be the driver, take them somewhere. But that alone is not enough. That's the artsy part, the drawing you're drawing a vision, you're casting a vision, you're dreaming, and that's the artsy part of business. But without the business part, which having the right people to make sure the mechanics are moving, that people are getting paid, and taxes are being filed, and 1099s are getting sent out on time, and you're collecting W-9s, and this is all the little nitty gritty business that has to happen. You need to combine that, and you need the administrators, you need the engineers, but you also need the visionaries and artists to really form an awesome business.
I love it. Is there something in your book, like can you share with us like a little blurb or something that maybe the reader isn't going to get by the book, something extra that you can give us here?
Yeah. So in the book, I make it clear this is not a business book. It's not a how-to book. It's not a political book. It's a memoir. And the memoir really is tied into this theme. Go back to your country. If you see the book cover, there's like this glass, and someone like threw a rock through it, just to give you a sense of pain, right? But the subtitle contradicts it a little bit and says, or stay. So go back to your country, or stay,
it says,
and defy all odds.
That's right.
Right? It's a book of hope. And so the first half of it is more pain. You got to really struggle through the first half. You may relate with some of that pain, but the next half, things start to get a little better. Challenges are still there, but there are different types of challenges. Maybe you don't feel so bad about the 12-year-old boy because now he's 18 and he has a different mindset. But the challenges are there, and you see the story of a family that defies the odd, and this boy that defies the odd. One after another, he finds the girl of his dreams. That's defying the odds. A guy that looks like me, and now I consider myself a handsome guy. But when I was young, I thought I was the ugliest man on earth. Who wants to marry this guy? And this guy with the big nose, the guy got the girl of his dream. Today she's his wife, and today they have 3 beautiful children. But that's defying the odds.
That's
right?
right.
It's not always, making money and setting up businesses and glamour and billboards and that stuff. It's really living a meaningful life. Living a meaningful life is defying the odds. There's so many people that live a less meaningful life, trying to find meaning throughout their entire life. But once you find meaning and start living a meaningful life, you've already defied so much that's against you, stacked up against you. Like, this is so much, right?
Yeah.
So what you're going to get in the book towards the tail end, you're going to see a little bit of business. You're going to see a little bit of salesmanship. You're going to see the development of that. I didn't want to do 7 bullet points on how to sell real estate. I wanted to show you how the guy was formed when he was 18 years old in his first sales job. And through that, you could pick up what you think is for you. So it's all story. There's no like, here's 7 ways, to win, and here's 12 bullet points to climb the ladder. It's a story, and it speaks itself. The story covers covers the early stages of my life, my development, even before I was born, and covers this immigration journey, and it ends around this year 2012, right when I opening a business was the last odd that I defy in the book. And then of course I need 3 more books to tell you what happened in 2012 forward.
I was gonna say, when is the next one coming out?
Yeah, I'm already being asked that, and that's in the works. That's in the works. Somehow I'm managing it. With all the delegated authority that's being done properly. I could have another book before you realize it.
Yeah, that's great. The whole thing you mentioned earlier about conditioning, to learn. And I think that comes so much with so many other things. You have to really start conditioning yourself to be successful and say, I'm successful, and not say I want to be successful, because I think that that's where the trap, I talk about a thing called be, do, have, right? You have to be what you want to be, do the work, and then you'll have success. A lot of people want to do the work so they can have success, so then they can be. I look at it like in acting, right? Actors want to, they want to act so they can be successful, and then they can be actors. I'm like, no, 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 no. I have acting students, and I'm always saying, no, no, you are an actor now. But I want to be an actor. No, 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 you are one. Be that. Be what you want to do, and then do the work. But you got to work, right? You got to work, and then you will have success. And and that to me is such an important thing. Talk a little bit about that conditioning, because I was really interested when you mentioned it earlier about conditioning yourself to learn, because a lot of people struggle with sitting down and watching a webinar or picking up a book, and now I got to read a book, and these are the quiet moments that people don't see entrepreneurs do. There's how many nights have you spent with your face in the book, or how many beautiful sunny days have you spent at home studying something when everybody was out in the park and barbecues and all that? Those kind of things really fascinate me.
Yeah, and I want to go back to why I even wrote this book. It's directly connected to what you just said. I wasn't interested in revealing what it is I'm doing. I was interested in revealing who it is that I am. Right? The being is what gives birth to all the doing.
Got it.
Not the doing.
Right.
You don't do to become. You become. You are, right? The being is what should dictate the doing, right? And everybody wants to know the doing piece about me. Issa, tell us how to start a brokerage. Tell us, how to build a team. Tell us how to sell real estate. Tell us how to manage properties. Start a development business, or whatever that they want to learn, because they want to be able to do some things. And I think if I just tell you what to do, you may not even do it. You may not even be wired to do it. I rather tell you who I am and how I got here, so you could figure out who you are and how you're going to get to the place where you could do amazing things at an amazing level. I think the being is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And that's why this book was written this way, and without any judgment, without here's the only way you could do something. And that's really good. But you also mentioned about learning. Learning is such an important key. Your life has to be a mission. Like, your mission in life should be to learn. There's nothing wrong with learning. I know in school it sucked. In high school, nobody wanted to learn.
I don't know if that's really learning either.
Maybe it was a little boring, and some teachers were good and some weren't that good, and some excited you and some didn't, and then you had some problems, and maybe you didn't want to learn. But that's a phase. That's acceptable as a phase in your life. But it can't be the story of your life. Someone who doesn't want to learn. If you want to grow and you want to live a meaningful life, you got to be willing to say, I don't know it all. And I want to live the rest of my life trying to scratch the surface of how to live a better life.
That's right. So many people who want to do something always have obstacles. And sometimes those obstacles are people. They could be family members, they can be friends, they can be spouses, they can be partners. Or they can just be society's views on something, like me, for instance. You talk about, defeating the odds, right? I'm a short guy. My wife is 5'10". You know what I mean? I always wanted a tall wife. I didn't care how tall I was. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't care about that stuff. You know what I mean? But it took it took time to get there. And I remember society just saying, well, it's always, tall, dark, and handsome, right? That's the expression, right? Nobody says, short, hairy, and Latino, right? It's always that. So for me, I ran into a lot of those kind of obstacles. And I think when it changed for me was when I saw Dudley Moore one day in New York City with his really tall wife, and I was a teenager. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, that could happen, you know? And but as you grow up and you get people in front of you, you know, suppression is really the thing that I wanted to ask. You know, there are people that would be somewhat suppressive and say things that are a little bit, it looks like they're trying to help, like saying, look, John, look, I know you want to do that, but you know, maybe you're just setting your sights a little bit too high. Maybe you should first try this, you know, because I care about you. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want you to get hurt. And that comes off as someone who's trying to help you. And really it's very suppressive, you know. When you're dealing with your staff, you know, did you ever go through anything like that as you know, just growing up that you had to overcome?
Yeah, and I cover a lot of that in the book,
That's awesome.
especially when it was opening a business, doing something, you know, like quitting a job that has health benefits and,
Oh
you
man.
know, all the corporate America has to offer.
Right.
You know how many no's I was hearing from the people that love me and care about me. But there's always a greater voice inside you got to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And you just got to be able to believe in yourself and believe that you are called to do great things. You know, if you're watching this, you know you're called to do great things. You know it deep down inside. We all know. Sometimes we don't want to feed that voice inside. And I think that's God's voice inside of you, which is the ultimate authority. If God says you could do it, then who are we men and women to say otherwise, right? So we don't fault them. We don't judge them for telling us not to do it. No, we need them to tell us not to do it because that is the fuel, the gasoline that we need to rub against the purpose to help us accelerate, right? Without tension, we can't accomplish.
That's right.
And I think those people that tell you no, no, you need more of them. The more people that tell you no, the sharper you're going to get and the greater you're going to accomplish. And you need to welcome that into your life.
Yeah. I heard Steve Martin, he was when he was starting out, they told him, you know, somebody told him, he said, you know, you should stick to the writing because the comedy, the stand-up comedy is really not, I don't think you're gonna make it in that, you know. And he said to himself, he was like, oh, okay, you know, I got my first badge of honor, you know, my first wound, you know, and it didn't stop him, but he kind of was like, okay, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get this, you know. And he kind of took it and he's like, I know this is coming, but I'm gonna keep moving forward. Obviously, he was one of the biggest stand-ups in the history of stand-up. So if he had listened, I mean, you know, that's the thing that drives me crazy. That there's some people out there that listen, you know, and I wanted to actually, we're
Yeah, so
approaching,
many.
yeah, it's just so sad. We're approaching an hour. If I can't even believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do people even listen this long?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So as
if you're still hanging out, by the way, let
we
me
love
know.
you.
I'll send you a free book.
We might have some people. You might have just. You might have to send out some books soon.
Oh, that's fine. You just,
Yeah.
if somebody stuck around an hour listening to this,
Oh yeah.
that tells me they really have an interest in growing and developing, and I'll
Here's,
give them a book.
here's Matt. Matt Briggs is here. He's listening. What's up, Matt? Thanks a lot for listening. So let me ask you. You know, as we're wrapping up here, you know, give us a little bit of a great motivation. You see, I told you, I'm here. Free book.
Matt, I got you, bro. Don't worry. We're gonna take care of you, Matt.
Funny.
Thank you for sticking around. I
Yeah,
hope we're
thanks, Matt.
providing you with valuable feedback.
So
So motivation.
yeah, you know, people out there listening that are maybe on the fence on, especially right now when we have so much time. People have had a lot of time to really reflect on their lives with the whole COVID situation and the scare and how scared people were. You know, what was, give us some something that you can impart to some of those people out there that are sitting there kind of looking for something to grab onto.
It's funny you use the word impart. I'm a big believer that you could only impart who you are.
Mm.
You could talk about what you know. You could talk about what you know,
Right.
but you could only impart who you are.
So can you
Right?
impart who you are to us? Gotcha.
I'll try. So I think, I think the fact that we wake up every morning, that's already right off the bat. It's an opportunity for us. Like, we got a clean slate. We get to start all over again. And we could be grateful that we have an opportunity to make our lives more meaningful. We could discuss a number of ways to approach that. Let's talk about the fact that I wrote this book and it's getting published. I shouldn't be writing a book. There's so many voices that say, no, well, you didn't do this yet. You didn't do that yet. You didn't hit $25 million in your pocket. You didn't hit the top brokerage in America. Like, why are you writing a book? Accomplish that first, then you do that, right? There's so much that we can talk about. Why don't we start right here, right? I believe that, if you're watching this and you have a story to tell, you don't have to wait until you become something else to tell that story. Right. You just gotta do it. Just make it happen. What helps me is that I am blessed. So it would be wrong for me to say, yeah, just do what I do. Well, no, you can't just do what I do because you don't have staff like I do. Right. You don't have people to delegate things to. You may have 1 or 2 staff. I have 20. I have people that I could give stuff to. So I don't want to say do what I do. I just want you to take the principles that I've taken and live them out at whatever stage in life you're in. The same principles that I've embraced early on. I share a story in the book with my experience in Toys R Us. It's when I'm invited to speak for a 10-15 minute quick talk, I go straight to that story. It's super motivational and it excites everyone, and then I'm done in 15 minutes. I got to share that story on stage with Les Brown in the end of 2017. It was such a highlight in my small speaking career. There I really unpack, because I was 18 years old. What I learned there at 18 is what still keeps me moving, 10 years later, 15 years later, and nearly 20 years later. So, and what I learned there is at Toys R Us is you got to stop saying no to yourself, stop rejecting yourself before giving someone an opportunity to reject you. And that's what we often do. We were selling these insurance products. We were selling, protect your video game for $1.99. It's an insurance. It's a buyer's protection plan. They sell them everywhere now. But when I was coming up, it was a new thing. For $2.99, you protect a $50 game. And we had to present it to every customer that buys electronics. Wow. And my colleagues were not even presenting it. And in the beginning, I wasn't presenting it because I was saying they're going to say no. So why embarrass myself? They're going to say no. They're going to say no. So sometimes we're the ones that need to get out of our own way. Yeah. It's not the critic. Sometimes it's us. We're telling ourselves, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't present it. I shouldn't write the book. I shouldn't go take this class. Who am I to go start something new? What are they going to say if I fail? Right. We are the ones that stop us from moving forward. And that's the initial. And then once you overcome what's in here, it's all in here. Once you kind of get this thing in order and start saying yes to yourself, then you could do the things, right? It's a matter of being, right? The being happens on the inside. Then the doing becomes easy. If you stop giving these excuses that hold you back, really, we're our own worst enemy. It's not the devil. It's not the devil. It's not demons. And it's definitely not all these haters right? It's us.
It's us.
We are the number
Responsibility.
one
Yeah,
enemy
that's
that
right.
we have that holds us back. And most of it is insecurity. You know, we don't feel worthy. We don't feel like, who are we? What are people going to say? We feel like we're going to be misjudged. But once we get over that and we start taking action, that action has to have a response. It's
Right.
going to have a response.
Yeah.
And in that story in Toys R Us, I started presenting to everybody. And eventually I started selling 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't want to ruin it for the book, but it gets really, really exciting. And that moment at the age of 17 to 18 sets me up for the rest of my life.
Wow.
You know, if I could give you principles, I'll give you those principles. I can't tell you, here's the 4 things you need to do tomorrow. I just don't know what you have. But I know that you could work with what you have. Hold on to the principles.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, man. That was just fantastic. I want to just tell everybody that the book is Go Back to Your Country. It is, you can actually go to the website. The website is right down here. Go back to your country, or stay and defy the all odds. Issa, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate you. Please come back again when that other book comes out.
Sure. John Henry, thank you so much, man. You're so awesome. Keep on doing great things. And I know that more doors are going to continue to open for you and for your family, and you stay focused and you stay persistent, and you know, things are going to get bigger and better, but just be faithful in all the things that you do while they're small, because it's those that are faithful with the small that could be trusted with big.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much, Issa.
All right, my friend.
All right. Have a
Take
great
care.
night. Awesome.
All right.
All right. Issa, man. I mean, isn't that like the best story? Now I really want to read the book because I want to find out what happens at Toys R Us. But you know, it's really a funny story because, you know, almost every single guest I've had on has had that moment where they held back on doing something, and because they were in fear, they were afraid, they thought they were going to be judged or made fun of or whatever was going to happen. And it turns out that, first of all, it doesn't even matter. You know, it doesn't even matter. And second of all, a lot of times you don't get stopped. You know, you don't get stopped. You actually can take that leap forward. And I'm very excited to read the book, and it's really awesome. So I appreciate everyone who tuned in. Thank you very much. I will see you all on Monday night at 9:30. And that is all. And as always,